Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, our mission is really a crash course in communication wisdom.
Yeah, but we're starting from kind of a tough place, looking at the damage, often, hidden damage that unwise words can cause.
Right. And we've been digging into some source material wisdom teachings, devotional insights, drawing a lot from the book of Job.
And it's not really about the theology itself, but it's this brilliant case study. It shows why, well, even when we mean well, as friends, as advisors, our usual responses can really fail someone who's suffering.
Okay, so let's jump right into that failure. We have Job. He's lost everything. He's in immense pain. And his friend, Eliphaz the Temanite, he breaks this long silence. And his first words, well, they reveal the core problem, don't they?
They really do. The sources highlight this tension. He basically says, look, I know you're hurting, but I just have to speak. If I say something, will you get offended? But honestly, who could possibly keep quiet right now?
Wow. That tension, you feel it. It's so relatable, that urge to fix it with words.
Agonizingly relatable, yeah. And Eliphaz wasn't some stranger. He was Job's closest friend, which makes his failure to really listen even more painful. He felt that duty, that need to speak truth.
But that need, when it's not checked by wisdom, that's where the sources say it becomes destructive.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's unpack this. If he had good intentions, Eliphaz, what was the big mistake, the fundamental error he made right out of the gate?
Well, the sources really zeroed in on it immediately. He answered Job's words.
Okay.
But he completely failed to answer Job's internal suffering, his feelings. He got caught up in the arguments, the complaints, maybe even the theological slips Job was making in his despair.
Right, the surface stuff.
Totally. And he just bypassed the agony in the man's heart.
So he heard the complaint, he maybe analyzed the logic or lack of it, not just missed the person's suffering.
You nailed it. And the core principle for genuine comfort, the sources say, is this. You have to use your heart to listen wholeheartedly.
Use your heart.
Yeah. If you're sitting there planning your response, formulating your argument while the other person is pouring out their pain, you're only hearing the words. You're missing the deep distress underneath those words.
But wait a second. Let's push on that. If Job is saying things that are, logically flawed, maybe even theologically wrong because he's suffering so much.
Which he was, yeah.
Don't his friends have some kind of duty to correct him? Isn't there a place for tough love sometimes?
And that's exactly where wisdom comes in, or, where it should come in. The sources are incredibly clear about this paradox.
Right.
You cannot heal a broken heart with logic. It's impossible.
Why not, if the logic is sound?
Because when someone's in deep emotional turmoil, what they need most is human connection, validation, not a lecture.
So if I'm hurting and you hit me with cold, hard reason, what happens?
Shut down. You feel more alone. The logic might be perfect technically, but applying it to an emotional wound, it's like rubbing alcohol on a severe burn. It just stings. It doesn't heal.
Yeah.
The only way the sources say you can truly begin to heal a broken heart is through love, through empathy. Not rational debate. They're really firm on this.
That distinction, love over logic, that's huge. And it makes sense then why Job later says, that those first 7 days when his friends just sat there in silence, that would have actually been better than all the advice they eventually gave him. He wanted the quiet presence, not the well-meaning lecture.
Exactly. Their initial silence, just sitting with him in the dust, that was the highest form of comfort. It showed shared suffering, solidarity.
Right.
But their later speeches revealed that, they weren't really present during that silence. They were probably just, planning their counter-arguments, cooking up their logical assault.
Rehearsing their lines.
Pretty much. And that's why Job basically said, I wish you guys had just kept quiet.
So if they'd operated from that place of love, they would have followed that guiding principle the sources keep bringing up. Speak honest truth, yes, but the critical part is making sure it's spoken in love.
Absolutely. Truth without love often just feels like an attack, an accusation.
Right. If your motive is just to correct someone, or worse, to win the argument, then the truth, no matter how accurate, just becomes, ammunition.
Precisely. It weaponizes it.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting and maybe a little manipulative on Eliphaz's part. He didn't just jump in with the bitter truth. The sources talk about his initial words being like a sugar coating for the bitter medicine he was about to dish out.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. He started by praising Job's past, trying to soften the blow, maybe?
How so?
He pointed out, hey, Job, remember, you used to help tons of people with your words. The sources even bring up this fascinating alternative translation of a verse in Job 4 saying, "Your words helped people stand firm."
Wow. So Eliphaz knew the power of positive speech.
Oh, absolutely. He understood that words could be incredibly helpful.
And that shows the huge potential words have, right? Like one sentence spoken at just the right moment with the right intention, it can change everything.
Totally. Words can lift up the weak, encourage the defeated. We've all experienced that, haven't we? That one perfect thing someone said that just turned your whole day or even your perspective around.
Definitely.
But, and this is the scary part, that same power makes careless speech a terrifying double-edged sword.
How so?
That carelessness, even if unintentional, can deeply wound someone who's already hurting. Or, as the sources put it, it can actually make their burden heavier, pile on, you know?
Yeah, for lifting the load you add to it.
Exactly, which just highlights how careful we need to be. Not just about what we say, but really how we say it. The delivery matters immensely.
Okay, so Eliphaz messed up. He rushed in with logic instead of love.
Yeah.
But why do we keep making that same mistake? You know, the well-intentioned friends today. What's the root cause of this kind of unwise communication?
The sources point to something they call positional thinking.
Positional thinking, what's that?
It's basically entirely self-centered thinking. The comforter, the friend, the advisor, they can't truly step outside their own viewpoint. They can't reason from the suffering person's perspective. It always comes back to my need to fix it, my need to sound wise, maybe even my own discomfort with their pain, so I try to shut it down with answers.
So we insert ourselves into their story as the hero or the fixer, instead of just being with them.
Precisely. We make it about us.
And that's why the attempts at comfort can become so unbearable.
That positional thinking leads to those powerful analogies you mentioned the sources use, starting with the salt.
Yeah, that one's potent. This kind of flawed comfort driven by positional thinking, it ends up being sour and salty.
Sour and salty.
Makes it impossible to swallow, right?
Yeah.
It's like using way, way too much salt. Some translations even use a phrase like deadly salty.
Deadly salty. Wow.
It's not just strong, it's like harmful. Instead of nourishing, it makes the person thirstier, sicker maybe. It repels rather than helps. I think we've all tasted that deadly salt, haven't we? That piece of advice that, instead of helping, just made you feel angry or completely misunderstood or just worse.
Absolutely. And the light analogy they use is just as powerful.
Okay, tell us about that one.
The unwise person thinks they're offering clarity, right? Shining a light on the situation, showing the way forward.
Makes sense. Light is good.
Usually.
Yeah.
But this is like a harsh, stinging light, like high beams flashed right in your eyes. It forces the person to just squint and turn away rather than actually see clearly.
So the advice is so intense, so forceful, maybe so sure of itself that it just blinds the person instead of illuminating anything useful.
Exactly. It's the difference between a gentle lamp showing the path and a interrogation spotlight, you know? The intention might be illumination, but the effect is pain and rejection.
That's a really clear picture.
And the source material gives this wonderful little story behind this analogy, which makes it stick.
Oh, yeah.
It talks about a retired female elder, someone who apparently learned to read only after she got married. And she was reflecting on scripture, on the passage in Matthew about being the salt of the earth and the light of the world.
Okay, Matthew 5.
Yeah, right. And she applied it directly to this problem of giving advice or comfort.
And what was her takeaway? Her conclusion?
It was beautifully simple and profound. She said, salt should not be too salty, it shouldn't be deadly salty, and light should not be too stinging or blinding.
So wisdom is in the moderation, in the gentleness.
Exactly. It's about the right amount, delivered with compassion. The quality of the wisdom isn't just the content, it's inseparable from the empathy of the delivery. Too much salt ruins the food. Too much light blinds the eye.
And this failure, this lack of gentle guidance, the sources say it often happens with the people closest to us, right?
Yes, the ones who feel they have the right, maybe even the duty to advise.
And how do they justify it? That stinging advice.
Often with that classic phrase, look, it's all for your own good.
Ugh, yeah, heard that one.
That phrase can be such a red flag, can't it? When it's said without that genuine kindness, that empathy we were talking about, the sources say it can actually become a form of what they call emotional blackmail.
Emotional blackmail. How so?
Well, it pressures the person into accepting the advice, or at least pretending to, out of guilt or obligation. I'm only saying this because I care, right? It stops them from finding their own way, their own peace, through genuine support.
Wow, okay. So pulling this all together, what does it mean for us trying to communicate better? It sounds like the sources are saying the big difference between wisdom and unwisdom is just figuring out the right amount of salt or light to offer.
That's a huge part of it, yeah. Wisdom is about setting aside that positional thinking, that self-centeredness.
Okay.
It means actively cultivating an attitude that's both honest and genuinely kind. If our underlying attitude is right, is truly kind, then the sources suggest that those around us will naturally benefit from our words, even if we have to share something difficult.
So the attitude shapes the impact.
Completely. It shifts the whole thing from trying to fix the person, which was Eliphaz's mistake, to simply trying to support them, to walk alongside them.
So the goal then, it shifts from teaching or correcting.
Right, which is what Job's friends kept trying to do.
To genuine encouragement, edification, building them up, not tearing them down with logic.
Exactly. And the sources give us a really practical way to think about this, some questions to ask ourselves.
Like homework?
Sort of. More like a personal audit of our conversations. We need to look back at times we maybe got it wrong so we can do better.
Okay, what should we ask?
Ask yourself, when was the last time I only answered someone's words? You know, their arguments, their surface complaints, and I completely missed the feeling underneath. The doubt, the fear, the pain.
Ooh, that requires some real honesty.
It does. You have to spot those moments to see where that positional thinking, that self-centered need to be right took over.
And the flip side,
we also need to recognize and maybe even celebrate the times we got it right. Ask, when did I speak aptly, at the right time, with the right motive? When did my words actually bring genuine help or comfort?
because that feeling, that's what wisdom in action feels like.
Precisely, that's the goal. The path to wisdom, really, is just consciously choosing words that are gentle, that build up, that encourage that comfort. It's about aiming to be a good and kind helper in our interactions.
So prioritize the love, the attitude,
Yeah.
over just the logic or needing to have the answer.
Yeah. When you do that, your words are much more likely to nourish, not sting. To be gentle light, not blinding light.
Okay, so that really wraps up the core mission for today, doesn't it? Understanding that real wisdom in how we talk to each other, especially in hard times, means leading with love, listening beneath the surface to the actual suffering, and balancing any truth we offer so it illuminates gently, rather than stinging or blinding the person we're trying to help. It means checking our own motives before we even open our mouths.
Well said. And maybe one final thought to leave everyone with. Let's go back to those first 7 days of silence.
Okay, Job's friends just sitting there.
Right. The source material prompts us to wonder what was really going on in their minds during that week of silence. Was it true empathy? Were they genuinely feeling with Job in his pain? Or were they just biding their time, mentally preparing their arguments, planning their logical takedown of Job's complaints?
Oof. That's a challenging question.
It really is, and it raises a question for all of us, for you listening. How much of our silence when someone else is suffering is just preparation for teaching or fixing? And how much is truly just quiet, empathetic presence?
That is definitely food for thought, something to reflect on.
Indeed.
Well, thank you for that deep dive. We'll see you next time.